Andy from the Deadly Dames Horror Extravaganza, and today we're joined by Chris Ray to discuss his new movie, 8 Minutes to Midnight. Today's interview is brought to you by Alfie's Alternative Titles for the channel Geek Legion of Doom. And we're here to thank you very much, Chris, for taking the time to... Chris, for taking the time to talk to us about your movie, Minutes to Midnight.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Can you give us firstly a brief rundown of the premise of the movie?
It's kind of the old throwback. It's a group of kids going out to the deserted cabin, and there's a family that's out trying to kill them.
I got the slasher vibe. I like slashers, so I got that vibe as soon as I started to watch it.
Yeah, we tried to have a little bit of fun with it, and hopefully some people got some of the throwbacks we put in.
I got the vibes. It was really good. One thing that I noticed as soon as I started to watch it was some of the well-known names in the cast. Can I ask how you managed to get everyone involved in the movie?
There's a good amount of them. I'm actually looking at the IMDb now to make sure I remember all of them. There was a good amount of them. Some of them were already attached when we came on board to make the film. And then, like Richard Grieco, Christopher Judge, John Hennigan, Dominique Swain, some of these people were friends of ours. And we were able to convince them, once we started getting all the cast together, to come on and do, Dominique comes on for, I think, a day or two. And she came in kind of as a favor. Hennigan was always set to star in the film, but when we found out that he was attached, and we wanted to work with him anyway, so it just, with him, it worked out well. And then adding William Baldwin, that was all Gerald Webb. That was my business partner, trying to find somebody to come in and play that role that hadn't done something like this before. And
right.
Baldwin was definitely on board when he read it. And
yeah. So it must have been fun as well then, knowing that you were going to, without giving anything away, having fun torturing your friends.
It was some of it was really good. Some of the fight stuff with Hennigan was pretty funny. So.
Could you tell us what it was like when you first read the script? What sort of drew you to the movie?
Christopher Don did a really job with the original script. We actually went through and we changed some of the original concepts for him because it was really set up to, the storm was already there, it was already covered in snow, and it was supposed to be hunters, and it just read right for this type of film, almost the old Texas Chainsaw family type film there, where the way it was originally set up, it was a group of hunters that were hunting people, more like what's the film where the people were hunting people alive, or can't remember the name of the movie, where the humans were basically being hunted by humans, the game. Mm. So that's kind of what the original script was, and it definitely drew everyone into it.
So you've done a little bit of acting yourself. Were you tempted to put on a bit of the special effects and get involved in it? Because the special effects were really good in this movie.
Let's think about it for a second. So the practicals was a kind of a combination of Synops, the effects company who worked on Z Nation, and the creations of the characters actually went through a bunch of different people helped create, like Angus and Calypso. Moseley's character was all Bill Moseley. Mm-hmm. Moseley did all his own. He did really all his own stuff on that. The Angus character, actually, we designed that character over about a 4-week span of drawings and back and forths, and then Calypso was originally supposed to be a man.
Yeah.
And we really wanted Mercy to come in and do it with the effects of her. The wardrobe, makeup, and SFX basically got together to create her outfit practically. So it really was, the effects on this were for our purposes anyway, was practical, and we tried to do as much with it as we could.
That was one thing that I really liked, because in a lot of movies like, Wrong Turn and The Hills of Eyes, women, they tend to be like mother figures, whereas I really liked it, the Calypso character, you kind of made her one of the main characters. You made her one of the hunters, one of the killers, and I really liked that. You made the women just as important as the men.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've looked back at some of some of the stuff I've done in the past. I'm a big supporter of getting away from the women's stereotypes. We did Mercenaries, which was basically the female Expendables, and that was all about, you know, we made sure that the women in that were just badass. It wasn't the typical, you know, oh, my nail. No. These women were beating the shit out of guys, and excuse me, but it really. We really do try to steer away from those stereotypical issues that people see with women and try to show them.
Just as scary as the men, and I liked that.
Oh no, she's fucking terrifying. Even when we were filming her, we would film it, and half the crew would walk away because she was just terrifying.
But you being from a sort of dabbling in acting, were you just as tempted to put on the makeup and get involved?
You know, the acting was as a kid. I as an adult, I've steered away from it as much as possible. I'm not a fan of being in front of the camera.
Don't I sometimes like get my hands dirty, and I would have been like, oh, go put some of that blood and gore on me. I want to be, let's put some of that on.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely getting dirty, but not in front of the camera.
Well, you've obviously touched on the practical effects side of things, so it's a lot of fun probably having all that practical effects, because you've done movies with CGI. Was it really different having all the practical effects? You know,
if you noticed recently too, we've actually tried to steer more into the practical effects and away from CGI. We've actually used CGI to help advance or enhance the SFX practicals. When we worked with Vinny for like Circus Kane, one of his requirements was, please do not add cheesy visual effects to my SFX. And we've actually tried to do a very good job about that with other films now too. And this was our first foray of trying to stay completely practical as much as we could.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed seeing that in this movie. I think CGI is great for things like sci-fi, but for horror films, it's one of those things that really make or break a movie. And for this movie, it was great just seeing all that blood and gore on the screen.
Oh yeah, no, it's CO2 canisters and people holding the fire extinguishers and pushing buttons and blood flying. I mean, we try to have as much fun with it as we could.
You can see it on the screen. Could you tell us what it was like shooting the stunts in this movie? Because there was obviously a lot of stunts.
You know, the fights were great because Hennigan and the guy playing Angus were both WWE wrestlers, and they had actually wrestled each other before. So when they were fighting, they already have a shorthand that, you know, we as a crew don't understand yet. But I mean, they were cueing each other for things, and they were really taking bumps, and you know, so it became really easy there. But then having Sean Christopher was our stunt coordinator, bringing in a fight choreographer, and you know, they were able to really do a lot of the work, and the fights were all real time. So we would shoot the fight 2 or 3 times, but let them actually go at it. So when you see a guy hit the ground, they're literally hitting the ground, getting up, and keep going. And it's the actors. It's not some stuntman.
So I wouldn't want to give away any of the movie at all, but there was one particular scene towards the end where I was just sitting with a big smile on my face because I was like, wow. And it's obviously why, because they were really going at it.
Is it the first Angus fight, or is it the
it was towards the end with them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that one was that one literally was the 2 guys. The stunt guys were there more for safety. Mm-hmm. The 2 guys had kind of figured out what they were going to do, and then we just put 2 cameras on them and let them go.
Yeah.
And
that's obviously why, because they were really going at it.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
It was really. I was just sitting there smiling the whole way through that.
Oh no, so was I. So was I when I was watching it. So I think we're on the same page there.
Have you always been interested in the horror genre then?
Yes and no. I mean, I grew up with my father, who back in the 80s, I'm sure he was doing a lot of horror and action, and horror has always been just kind of part of family. I mean, I went through, and as you can see here, I've got old horror movies tattooed to my arms.
Is that?
I've got the picture of the Black Lagoon. I got the Mummy.
My favorite.
I've got, so I'm a big fan of the old horror films. I like some of the stuff that's happening today, especially with the ones that people, when they're doing practical that we're talking about. Those films I'm actually more inclined to watch than some of the ones being enhanced with VFX. So yes and no. I mean, as a kid growing up, I like the action, and the older I get, the more I like the horror and the blood. And
You've actually got my favorite Universal monster on your arm there, the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh yeah, it's one of mine. I've got all sorts of things creature throughout my house.
Yeah, designed by a woman. So so yeah, supporting the women. When you were shooting Minutes to Midnight, was there a specific look you were going for? Because you had a lot of close-up shots, so it was like you were going for claustrophobic when I was doing it. When I was watching it, that was the feel I was getting.
Depending on what sequence we're talking about, some of them were intentional, and then some of them, of course, is always the fact of low-budget filmmaking, where we're in a hurry. But Laura Beth, who's the DP, once certain things, we tried to stay within the style no matter what was happening. So she would always try, like in the shed. We showed the shed, kind of a big shot to show what's going on, and from that point on, everything is kind of medium to tight in the shed from there on. We tried to show inside the cabin. It was big and bright, so it was kind of a safe place. And then once the cabin's been invaded, it's all lights are out, it's all dark. And so, we did try to do certain aspects to cue certain areas, Moseley's was always that dingy, grunge, yellowish. So. And
in your past, you've always made like quite light-hearted movies when you did like the shark creature feature movies. What made you make the move to the sort of slasher genre where the more blood and gore?
Working for the Asylum, they're the ones who kind of got me the break back into the business and start working as a director. But the films that we were doing for them at the time there was that type of film where, giant shark chasing people with a crocodile, and so we had to have some fun with it and make sure we try to put the best film out that we could. With this was one of those films where it was ours. We raised the money. We found the script. Just trying to do something different to try to show, some of these films kind of get either caught up or carried away with themselves, and we try to just have a little bit of fun with it. There's still, like I said, there's still some funny to it, but once it starts getting gory, it pretty much stays that kind of gore. But wanted to get away from the norm. I wanted to try to get away from being known for the CGI films and not try to get pigeonholed. So. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there'll be a sequel to Minutes to Midnight?
That's going to depend on the audience. It's going to depend on how well it goes over. I mean, the reviews so far have been great, but again, the general audience will dictate that. Yeah.
Certainly at the end of the movie, I was sitting there going, I want to watch more. So it's kind of hoping, and everybody that I know that have seen it have said the same thing. So fingers crossed.
Well, the one thing I'm sure you noticed, there at the very end there's things missing. So
I would like to see more. So let's hope there's a little bit more of Minutes to Midnight. Is your directing style influenced by any other directors?
It depends on the film. I try not to base my style on anybody else but myself. But then, depending on the type of film I'm making, we try to pull from other directors or other styles and try to create our own. So, we talked about Circus Kane, and everyone kind of quotes me on it. But yeah, it was really the combination of zombies, some of his horror with the 31 and House of Thousand Corpses. But then we also took, House on Haunted Hill, and trying to think what was the other one. The House on Haunted Hill, House of Thousand Corpses, and 31. Yeah, so those were the three. So But again, that film was zombie mixed within some of the old 50, 60 horror. This one, like I said, we took for a little bit from Texas Chainsaw, and the family aspect. But for a director, I tried not to, so that the comparison is not really a comparison. So,
yeah, and you obviously have directed many shark movies. This is coming from the person that's actually, this is his question, the person that's actually helping me record this today. He wanted to know if you think you'll be returning to do the seven-headed shark movie.
I don't have anything. I did two-headed shark and I did three-headed shark, and I think from there's been a 5, and they actually just made another one, and I actually was not involved. I was not involved in either one of those, so I only did the first 2. So
one of the first, they were actually entertaining. I thought they were a lot of fun. A lot of fun, the shark movies.
They were a lot of fun to make too, but the three-headed shark was shot in Pensacola, Florida in December. So
cold.
A little cold.
And a bikini in September is probably not a lot of fun for somebody. So.
Well, if you look at some of those boat sequences, you'll see people's breath.
Oh dear. That's not good.
Look close for it. We did a pretty good job of hiding it, but you can see some of the people's breath coming out of them.
Oh, no. Now, I believe, are you involved in the new Purge movie?
Say again? Oh, yeah. I was the first AD for the stunt unit.
Can you tell us much about that?
I can't get into much of it. All I can tell you, though, is that in the film, if you see things blowing up or people being dragged around, I was the AD running, the assistant director working with the stunt unit to make all of that happen.
The Purge movies are very, very good, very clever movies. So I'm looking forward to the next movie.
It's a fun one. They shot it in Buffalo, New York, and they did a really good job, I think, of using the facility in the area around Buffalo to give it that inner city look and feel. And the cast of it, the stuff I saw was amazing. So I think the ladies and gentlemen, part of that will be very happy when they see it.
Do you have any most memorable moments from the set of Minutes to Midnight?
Okay, so behind the scenes, we have a bunch of people who came out and were involved in this. Colleen Signer, Victoria Dadi, and Paul Signer. What we didn't realize was that the Signer, one of the Signer sisters, had an issue with, I guess, body parts. So I took Vicky in to see the room with all the hanging body parts and, with all the candles and everything. And, this looks great. Let me go grab my sister. I didn't realize that when she grabbed her sister to bring her in there, her sister was going to run away screaming. And so it's definitely very, very memorable because she never went back in that room.
Oh, dear.
Colleen never went back in the room. She was scared of it. And then, what was the other? There was another one. The girl in the bedroom. That sequence. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Heather fell asleep. The sequence. So
not for the supposed love scene.
No. that was. I mean, I guess those two actors knew each other already, and it was a very comfortable, move, do and move on.
Just imagine that supposed romantic scene and she's snoring.
No. It's more of the girl who gets drunk and they take her to bed. She fell asleep with some of the film. So, otherwise it was a really fun experience. I mean, Jerry Cohn, a lot of the stuff he does in the film is ad-libbed. Mm-hmm. And Jared is a great director, but he's just obnoxious as Richie, and it's amazing. It's awesome.
Well, I had a lot of fun watching the movie, and looking forward to rewatching it. Do you have any other projects in the works that you can tell us about? Anything else coming up?
Well, you guys know about Circus Kane, which is on Amazon. There was an announcement in Variety a couple days ago of a series that I created with Zach Ward, produced by myself, my business partner, Gregory Martin from Line Entertainment, who produced The Bay, Scott Reynolds, St. John Rosa, a thing called Fracture, which is my first chance of trying to make a series. We've already shot it. We're in post now, so we'll find out where this goes soon. But like I said, Variety broke it a few days ago, and there's a bunch of media about that right now at the same time that Minutes to Midnight is going on. I have a comedy that I did called They Want Dick Dixter, which was finally picked up, which will be coming out ideally, hopefully, in the next couple months, starring Bobby Ray Schaefer from The Office. Right now, that's really it. I'm producing some stuff, but the ones coming up is the big ones are Fracture and of course this one, and then They Want Dick Dixter.
That sounds like a lot. When you're saying that's really it, it sounds like you've got lots on the go.
Yeah, no, but staying busy. You gotta stay busy and keep working. So. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, I recommend that everybody goes and watches Minute to Midnights, especially if you're a fan of old school slasher and you like practical effects and lots of gore.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Tiki Terrors, and same thing with Facebook. I do actually answer people's messages, so feel free to hit me up.
Perfect. And you take care, Chris.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.